Hello, good evening. Welcome to the couch. My name is Ama Pratt. Well, this evening we have a very serious conversation. Tonight, I want us to turn that mirror that we tend to turn on everybody else but ourselves, on ourselves. I want us to look in the mirror, look at what we see collectively as a society, and tell ourselves some truths and have the hard conversations that we need to be having. We've all heard the news of two teenagers gruesomely killing a 10-year-old. Now, if that's not shocking enough, what's even more shocking, than two teenagers not having human empathy for another child is the fact that they did this for ritual purposes. Also, they tell us. So apparently, they watched, one of these spiritualists on TV and journeyed, went all the way to the Volta region to meet up with this spiritualist. And this spiritualist asked them to bring to him 5,000 cedis and a human being. I don't know how we're going to garner this 5,000 cedis. However, these two teenagers, one 16-year-old, one 18-year-old, hatched a plan to kill a 10-year-old, which they executed. So we've all seen the videos of, the man being prompted by his wife to go into an uncompleted building. He goes there, he sees the hand of a child, showing. He digs up the ground and he comes across a 10-year-old boy who lives in, the community. And I'm talking about Kaswa. Now, this is somebody who lives there. We've seen the videos, we've seen pictures of this adorable little 10-year-old boy. His mom, we've heard his mom speak. We will show you the video of his mom speak because my colleagues went there this afternoon and all the conversations that have ensued. Now, guess what? I cannot remember the number of times on this show alone I have had reason to complain about these spiritualists we've allowed onto the airwaves. And by spiritualists, I don't just mean the malams. I mean those parading in suits and cassocks calling themselves priests too. Because let's be fair and let's be truthful and let's be serious as a people. All of them do the same things. Be it Sikagari, which I find, okay, let me leave it there, to so-called pastors giving out lotto numbers. And I've said this on the show before. My shock to hear a so-called man of God saying very proudly on TV that he could go into bank vaults and take money and give back to his church members. Now, all of this is happening live on TV. Now, there's a video that I even shared on Facebook where this man is singing, Abaisi Kanu, Mesu Medibi. And the song goes and on about how we are all entitled to Abaisi and we should all, dip our hands in Abaisi and take it. Now, if as a people, this is not a wake-up call for us, I don't know what is. There's something called normalization. Normalization. And that is when you repeatedly see something over and over and over and over and over again until you think that, oh, it's normal, it's okay. It doesn't shock you anymore. We are here now. The first time I saw a malam on TV, I was shocked. Today, if I see a malam on TV, that shock factor is not there anymore. It becomes normal. Very soon, I start to think, or I begin to think that, oh, perhaps it's a way to make money. It's okay. That is what we've done to ourselves. Today in Ghana, the young boy growing up doesn't get shocked by the concept of kill somebody and I'll give you money. Growing up, I don't know, perhaps I lived in a bubble, but that would have been very shocking for me. Not to talk of even conceptualizing getting involved myself. Now, we need to have these conversations, but more importantly, we need to take action. Imagine my shock as I'm driving here, listening to one of these radio stations. The journalist had gone into the township, and apparently this is something that's been happening daily in Kaswa. It's like the rest of us just woke up to this, but this is something that has been going on and on and on and on for the longest time. There was one woman who actually said that I have a child, and sometimes when I'm going out to the market to trade, I'm scared leaving my son at home because only the last time this person's child got missing, only the other time that person's child was found dead, you know, and we all sit down and these things are happening, and there are real issues here. My guests, I'm still expecting them. You know, they are on their way. I have 2 guests this evening. I have a security analyst. I have a child rights activist. We would have all the conversations that needed to be had. More importantly, I want you at home to join in the conversation as well. We will give you, a number, a text line, a WhatsApp line to join. You can also join us on Facebook. Find us on Facebook on African TV, and send, your view, your comments. I want to have this conversation, but I want to take this conversation beyond the studio. I think that it's about time that we did something about this. Let our children know that this is not normal. On this show on Fridays, I try to do a personality profiling edition of the show where people who have made it over the years tell their stories, share their difficulties, the hardships, everything they had to go through to get to where they are now. We've had members of parliament sit here and talk about selling food. Only recently, Jifa Gumashi was here talking about how her mom used to sell in the market and she used to sell bread. We've had Madam Esther Koba speak about all her hassles as a child, to get by. We've had now Honorable Member of Parliament, Lawyer Francis Sosu, speak about being a street kid, living in the Malamata market, going through all those hardships to get to where he is today. These are the stories that we need to amplify and glorify so that the child watching us can see for himself that it's not like that. And you can make it through the hard way too. Most importantly for me, this thing where we see street kids, we see destitute, abandoned, children all over, drive across the townships at night. And there are so many children who have no hope. We take the hope away from them. We take dreams away from them. They literally have nothing to live for. Now, when you have a society where people have nothing to lose, that's dangerous. That's terribly dangerous. And that's what we are seeing today. Welcome to the show. We'll take a quick commercial break. Don't go nowhere. When we come back, we'll delve into the issues. Stay with us.
Every day, he has a drink filled with malt. Every day, he has a drink filled with malt and milk. Every day, he has a drink filled with malt, milk, and cocoa. Every day, he needs the nutritious goodness of Milo. Milo, the energy to go further. This advert is FDA approved. Every day, he looks after his brother and chases a bus. Every day he looks after his brother, chases a bus, and learns new things. Every day he looks after his brother, chases a bus, learns new things, and gets back home. Every day he looks after his brother, chases a bus, learns new things, gets back home, and helps his mom. Phew. That's why every day he needs his cup of Milo filled with the nutritious goodness of malt, milk, and cocoa. Milo, the energy to go further.
From Nestle.
This advert is FDA approved.
Whatever the occasion, with ATL, you can never be out of style. ATL, bringing fabric to life.
Mechanized machines which purifies water. I bring to you ultimate natural mineral water. Deep from underground, tasty, well purified and corporately packaged. Ultimate natural mineral water. Let's drink the new. For book, call 020-379-1888 or 0244-515-801. Ultimate natural mineral water. My water, your water, our water.
Introduce my guest for this evening. Well, one of my guests for this evening, Adib Sani. Hello, Adib.
Hello, Ama.
Always a pleasure to see you.
Always great to be here.
Right, and Adib is a security expert, who has a better understanding, a more researched position on this issue. Adib, what do you make of all this?
Well, first of all, let me say a very good evening to your production team. And sorry for the heartache, TJ. And a very good evening to your viewers.
Right.
In the midst of all the drama, the anger, the apprehension, for some of us who almost all our lives practiced and studied security, we take a step back and make sense of the whole situation. And by making sense of it, you can appreciate it better and prefer ways we can deal with it. The issue is so complicated. It's more complicated than we fathom. A lot of us argue from the superficial perspective, but for those of us who have decided to take it from the scientific perspective, we have come to the realization that this would require a multifaceted, multidisciplinary, and most importantly, multidimensional approach to dealing with such issues. That is becoming the order of the day. I must say, what has happened is despicable. It is dastardly, it is gory, but it also presents to us a unique opportunity to take a step back, reflect, and come out with ways to prevent another of such events happening. For years on end, we have allowed certain irresponsible behavior to fester, and those are the results we're seeing today. When I first saw the video, I was shocked, because if you have a child, you would know how it feels. I couldn't imagine putting my child in those shoes, or myself in those shoes. And so I wasn't surprised when I saw media reports about the father of the deceased saying if justice doesn't come, he will be forced to take action. I mean, I can imagine within the stream of things how he feels right now. But it's scary, because we are gradually creating a certain society which is making particularly the youth feel that you cannot make money the legitimate way. The only way you can make money and make proper money is to use crooked methods, even if it means sacrificing human life. And this has even, you know, featured in the pop culture. When you watch movies, you know, you see people poor, then they go sacrifice their wives, children, mothers, and they become rich overnight. Also, the level of exposure the youth are exposed to, especially on mainstream media, is also something we really have to be looking at. Unfortunately, Ama, what do you expect from a society that glorifies money doublers? As a matter of fact, they are scammers, voodoo, money-making priests.
Let's unpack the issues, because as you speak, I realize that, you know, you are right. This is deep. There are so many dimensions to the issue. So let's take it one at a time. And I want us to start from all of us. You know, the other dimensions that perhaps we'll get into, hopefully on Thursday, we'll be having a conversation with the NMC, National Media Commission, to speak about how we've allowed the proliferation of these airwaves to become a canker and a danger unto ourselves. But let's start from amongst ourselves, us, you know, and the things that all of us seem to portray. Let's look at our posturings on social media, for instance, and all of us are at fault, all of us, you know, as a society. What do we glorify? Let's look at, for instance, last year, you know, and the things that caught our attention for the longest time had to do with a wedding and a show of cars. And that sort of became the new standard. So, as a people, are we getting it wrong? Is there something wrong with our value system? Are we teaching our children the wrong thing? Where is respect for hard work, for decency, for integrity? Oh, this is a good human being. This person hasn't. We don't celebrate those things. And I always thought that as Ghanaians, and perhaps I have another understanding because I found myself in other contexts, in other countries and things like that. And I've heard what people think about Ghanaians. For instance, my Nigerian friends would always tease me that Ghanaians are cheap. Not in a bad way. It was a joke that we all understood, because I wasn't as flashy as they were. And I wasn't flashy and proud. I really genuinely didn't see the need. I didn't care. Whereas, you know, for some of them, not all of them, for some of them was about the tag of the dress you are wearing. It's about how expensive the shoes. I honestly, genuinely didn't care. So far as they look good. So they used to tease me. Why you these Ghanaians? And you're not alone. No, there's other Ghanaian girl too is like that. You these Ghanaians, you're very cheapo. And it wasn't a bad, it was actually good. So, you know, we've had that as a people in the past, where our value system, correct me if you think I'm wrong, I feel like we are raising ourselves to the bottom lately, you know, by shifting what we place value on and the things we care about and the things we glorify, and suddenly you're behaving like everybody else, where it's about, you know, what brand is it, what are you wearing, you know, how expensive is your car, is it 2021, is it 20, like a friend once said to me, you drive there, something. I was like, I don't even know.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's a subculture. Recently, I met some few friends, and one of those friends was introducing me to the others. I was like, oh, he's a security analyst. Do you know him? They're like, no. And I asked, but do you know Shatabandos? They're like, oh, yes, everybody knows Shatabandos. So, I mean, it's reflective of our priorities. I was telling someone the other day, I told him, look, if I want to be the most talked about person tomorrow morning, I can do that tonight. I'll just go on TV, on radio, and talk a lot of nonsense, and trust me, people would glorify me the following day. Recently, I was watching a comedy skit on social media, and there was this gentleman who posed to have all the cars. Then he was supposed to meet the lady. When he met her, he was in a keke. He didn't have the vehicle, and the lady, but I thought you had the cars. And the gentleman asked her, where? And she said, online. And he asked her, but where are we? Offline. So, so online, I have the cars. Offline is a different story altogether. And is it Martha and Cobra, one of the actresses? Ankoma. Good. Recently said something that garnered a lot of attention. The fact that she felt the female celebrities especially were not fair to the youth, because they paint that picture that is not necessarily a reflection of their real selves in real life. And according to her, that puts a lot of pressure on young people. People started talking, no, she's wrong. But if you look at it, the nuances, to a large extent, she's right. You see, the level of exposure, especially the youth get on traditional media, on social media, ultimately, invariably puts a lot of pressure on them. Lately, you find young men with dreadlocks riding their favorite vehicles are the new Toyota Camrys and the Mercedes-Benz CLA and even the C300. No, CLS rather, and the C300. And their parents don't find, I mean, where do you get it from? And these people post on social media, others see it, and they are pushed into using any means possible to get there. So, like I said, like you said, it is multifaceted, and so we have to approach it from that direction.
It's interesting for me that this has become a security issue, lifestyle. Isn't it amazing that the lifestyle that we choose to portray, you know, the things that we choose to glorify, has suddenly turned on us now, and it's a real security issue.
Yes,
because tomorrow it might be you who might get killed.
Yes.
Imagine, for ritual purposes.
Exactly.
Of all the ways to die.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of families cannot afford vehicles to pick their wards from school, and the children walk. In some cases, they walk miles.
Oh, we see them all the time
to their homes.
In
and
the
trust me,
mornings.
Ama, right from the moment the child steps out of the exit door or gate of the school, all the way to when he gets to the entrance of your home, is exposed to all sorts of danger. Whether they are predators, whether they are pedophiles, whether they are kidnappers. So that is why I always tell my colleagues, involve the children in the process. You don't necessarily have to take the phone from the child, but teach the child how to use the phone. Let us not underestimate what they know, what they are exposed to on social media. And the problem is, Ama, you might take care of your children. You might adhere to all the good principles, wonderful principles of parenting. But mind you, my daughter, my last daughter, a very sweet girl, she came home singing Shatawale. And I was amazed, because my home, you don't do Shatawale. No. He said, no. I know what I show my children. So I asked her, where did she hear Shatawale from? She said, oh, one of her colleagues came singing it. So I am doing the right thing. But another parent of
I disagree with you, but let's go. I mean, Shatawale is fun.
No, I mean, Shatawale. You understand?
Fun.
Obviously, I'll not make my children watch one dong. you should get me. But there are some parents
Right.
who would expose their children to telenovelas,
Right.
expose them to all sorts of videos, and when they come mix up with your children, they transfer
You're
the
in
knowledge,
trouble.
right?
You're in
That is
trouble.
why I feel we should deal with it from the source.
Right.
Let us stop. And lately, you know, the strategy some TV stations use to, as it were, attract attention to a program, they deliberately would show porn and conveniently apologize. You think it's a mistake?
No, it's not.
They just conveniently
not.
apologize,
It's
and
not.
that is it. They will not be punished whatsoever. And it goes just like that.
Right. Now let's look, and here we are looking at this issue as a societal problem. You know, our topic for this evening is this racial murder. Is it a societal failure? Have we failed ourselves as a people collectively? The things we see on TV, you know, as somebody who operates too, you know, the Pan-African TV, there are difficulties. It's not smooth sailing. These days, getting advertisers is not easy because there are over hundreds of us. The companies that advertise the most have their own TV stations. There's no reason for them to come and advertise with you. There are agencies. I don't want to get into all of that. So the terrain is tough. However, for us, the mainstream TV station, and I don't speak for just Pan-African TV, I speak for all the others because I have friends in all the other TV stations who tell me things. For us, the mainstream TV stations who seem to have a proper vision and a mission, know what they are doing, are struggling, you find one pastor with 4 TV stations. 4. When the rest of us are struggling with one. One pastor, he has 4 TV stations. Another pastor has 5 TV stations. You flip and you see him here, you see him in Kaswa, you see him in Kumasi, you see him in Accra. And what is he doing? He says, bring the guy's photograph. I will pray over him and tomorrow he'll marry you. He says, how many boyfriends do you have? Don't worry. Bring all their photographs. And I would help you select the one that is good for you. He says, you have relatives abroad. They are not sending you money. Don't worry. Just bring their pictures. I will pray over them. They will start sending you money. The most scandalous things we hear, all on national TV. What do we do?
Exactly. The thing is, at a point, I watched one of those TV stations, and they are usually on the digital channels. You flip from one station to another. If it is not a malam, it is a fetish priest, or it is a malam, a pastor. I saw this pastor line up his church members to come and inspect the scrotum of a man, his testes. See how big it was, and people were so proper, so like that. And at the point, I also saw him parade minors and accuse them of witchcraft.
Yes.
And you see, the fact
I've
is,
seen that too.
these children, after you exorcise or whatever you do to them, they get back to their communities, the stigma remains. Oh, they are witches, they are wizards, and anyone could harm them. This is indecent exposure. We have a gender ministry, we have the NCA, we have the NMC.
You're saying
You don't
indecent
know-
exposure. I say it's fraud.
Exactly.
It's
Because
fraud.
there are situations people bring passports, and that you would pray over it, and all of a sudden there will be a visa. How wonderful. I'm sure I wouldn't have been sitting in this studio by now. I would have been in America.
And they give money.
But you see, yes, they make money.
But
make
they
a lot-
give money.
They make money, they give money. And they have a lot of these TV stations. Recently, I spoke with a friend of mine who runs a TV station on the digital platform. And he shows these things. I asked him, wouldn't you want to set a certain standards? Wouldn't you want to put a stop to this? And he said, according to him, on monthly basis, he pays a lot of dollars.
Right.
And they bring the cash.
They have the money.
Good. But I mean, I know this is contentious, but I feel that is selfish. That is so inward looking, because you cannot poison society to profit from it. That is not fair, and that is where the work of the regulators should come in. So you see,
now let's talk about the regulators, Adib. I'm happy you took me right there. We closed down Radio Gold, right? Radio Gold, TV Gold, and all the other ones. We closed them down, shut them down. Why? For failure to pay, isn't it? You know, that they hadn't met some requirements, which boils down basically to money, right? And documentation and all of that. And yet these ones will never falter that way because they have the money to pay. They have the money to be consistent. So if you are going to use the books and the law as the way to filter who stays and who doesn't stay, tomorrow, knock on wood, God forbid, should never happen. It'll be Pan-African TV.
Yeah.
And not the person who is doing Sikagari. That's Malam. Because on paper, if the regulation, if the requirement is a payment, that person would satisfy the payment and would have satisfied the state requirement. And yet, this other TV station that is rather perhaps discussing the issues, and here I was speaking about Radio Gold, discussing the issues, opening phone lines so people can, you know,
contribute,
express themselves, speak about, you know, actually having meaningful conversations, would get shut down. Now, as a state, as government, are we not the ones doing, and here I'll use the most literal translation I can find, doing ourselves? Don't we have a responsibility towards ourselves and our society to not use money as the reason why somebody gets shut down and somebody gets to operate, and rather use the content and what the contribution of this station is overall to this society that we are building, so that as a state, as a government agency, I can shut down a TV station because your content doesn't edify society. How can this be hard?
Ama, you and myself, and I'm sure a lot of viewers out there know full well, even if they decide not to talk about it, and I'll be very candid here, that Radio Gold was not all about the money. You
It
and
was
I
about
know
politics.
it was about the
But
politics.
what's more
And when you look
important?
at, and you know, when you even take a closer look at our press freedom ranking over the
Right.
years, it's been coming down. We are not making.
So would rather the Malam than the
Exactly.
than the
So this is
political view.
indicative of a total failure. This is dereliction of duty on the part of the regulators. There are years of negligence, irresponsibility, inefficiencies, incompetence, call it whatever, is what has gotten us where we are today. They see absolutely nothing wrong with money doublers who are, you know, openly scamming people. Oh, send us 500 cedis, you'd get 5,000 the following day. Send us 1,000 cedis, you get 10,000. Nobody does anything about it. But you go and inspect papers and say we are closing it down, please. And you know, there would always be an excuse. And someone was telling me something the other day that, look, the excuses they used, if they are going to apply it, almost every single radio station will be closed in Ghana. And we allowed this to fester. And now it is just because this is a major security issue. It is a major security because it is putting pressure on young people to, by hook or crook means, make money, even if it means engage in robbery activity.
And now they know where to go. Before, if you think about it, oh, I'd like to go and do Sikedru or whatever it is we call it, you would now have to, I mean, where do you go to do it? How do you do it? But now, just turn on the TV, you know exactly where to go.
You know where to go. And they have their numbers boldly displayed.
Right.
And
it's so accessible.
You know,
just a click of
so
that.
accessible.
You can.
And you know, Ama, what amazes me is the fact that we glorify and celebrate these people. They are celebrities. They buy Dorsey and Gabbana. Baby, Ama, can you afford Dorsey and Gabbana?
Hello, please, I cannot.
You know,
I cannot. I have nothing else to do with money, actually.
You see, they've infused into the pop culture. We are celebrating them. We are celebrating mediocrity. And that is so reflective of the Ghanaian, way of living. And I must say, it is quite unfortunate. But like I said, this is dastardly, this is despicable. However, it presents to us opportunities. I don't wish this issue dies like other issues. When they come up, we talk about it. Within 2-3 days, it becomes old news. Then we wait until the next person is killed. Then we talk about it again. And I'm particularly excited. You'll be speaking with the regulators on Thursday. We need to know what they are doing about all of this that is happening. They need to sanitize. We need to sanitize. We need to put pressure on them to sanitize the airwaves. We might not.
How about they also need us to give them the impetus to act? Because it's a two-way street, isn't it? If as a society, this is what we glorify. And I've seen some of these malams, and here I'm going to mention her name, Nana Agrada. She's an overnight celebrity, and I used to see her acting local movies. And then suddenly she became, and I'll tell the story. I will tell the story. I went to a salon one time, and, a woman had come with her friend. So they were having their conversation. I mean, it was right there in my face. I couldn't help but, listening in that conversation. She was telling her friend how, I think her neighbor's kids or her house help's kids, something, some kids close to her had stolen money. And the other kid had used his school fees, and they had, of course, apprehended these kids. Where is the money? What did you do with the money? And it turns out they had taken it to her. Right? That she was going to double it for them or something, crazy like that. And of course it hadn't happened. And so they had gone back and she had threatened them that, what's it called? If this thing comes out, and apparently it wasn't the first time or the second time or the third time. Now, the conversation that was going on in the salon between these two men was what to do next. Do you send police after her? Do you go and apprehend? What if the kids are lying? Things like that. And I just sat there and I thought to myself, we shouldn't even have to have this conversation. It shouldn't be there to start with, to entice any child to go there. It shouldn't. Let's even assume the kids are lying. Let the kid not have that easy access to an excuse. I don't know if I'm making sense. It's something that needs to go away. It doesn't need to exist. Why am I looking at a malami? Why am I in my hall? Because all it takes is a remote, isn't it? In other countries, channels that show things that we find abominable or not so pleasant, it's paid for. It has a code. So there are porn sites that you could access 24/7, but you need to punch in a code or you need to pay for it to be able to access it. Here we don't have any of these regulations. No. And so all a child needs is a remote, and it's there. It's there in your living room. There's a malam sitting right there with you in your living room, giving you promises. Telling you, I will give you money. Who doesn't want money?
And these days what they do is they go beyond TV and contact you directly. Recently I got a call like that. My brother, how are you? I'm fine. I'm calling you from the Volta region. Where do you work? And I gave him a wrong place. Oh, really? It's true. Tell me, okay. They hate you at the workplace. I was like, really? They came to kill you. But when I did my checks, I realized you are a good person. So I want us to reverse the case. Send us money. We want to buy this, we want to buy that. And believe it or not, Ama, some would fall for this. Some would fall for this. Not too long ago, there was talk about Nana Agrada, to be specific, engaged in the fraudulent activity, and it was in the news. But I knew ultimately nothing would come out of any investigation if it is even conducted in the first place. Yes, we still see it happening on TV on daily basis. In the evening when you are from work, you are stressed, you need some little information to go to bed with, you tune in and all you see are malams, pastors. We are not asking them to refrain from their worship or whatever they do, but the kind of information they put out there is poisoning society, and it's going to have rippling repercussions on the security. In fact, what they are doing has serious security implications. And the last time I spoke with a very top source at one of the regulators, she said categorically that, you see, the problem is these churches, they have followers in the thousands, and the politicians are scared to touch them, because when they touch them, their followers might not vote for them.
How about the rest of us?
How about the rest?
Are we not more than the thousands in the church?
Good.
That's why I'm saying that perhaps the rest of us need to let our voices be heard.
That's
Because
the point.
if it's 1,000 or 5,000 in a church, there are millions more out here who do not like what is happening. Perhaps it's time for us, the millions who do not like what is happening, to make our voices heard,
Exactly.
to sign, some documents, signature campaigns, something to get out there in the streets and show that, oh, you're afraid of 1,000. Well, there's a million
There's a
here
million out there, exactly.
who do not
So
like what is happening.
I think what has happened, although it is unfortunate, is a rude awakening to us to put more pressure on stakeholders, so they are able to take concrete, progressive steps towards nipping this canker, I call it, in the bud once and for all. If not, we should expect nothing but more gruesome acts in the future, because the youth, they are becoming desperate. And you see, Ama, because of some certain deep-seated socioeconomic and geopolitical deficits in our societies, the push factor is quite enormous. It's sometimes too strong to resist. I know people go into crime as a means of survival, but these days people go into crime because they want luxury, not necessarily to survive. I run a business within a Zongo area. I've tried, a couple of times to engage a lot of these Zongo boys, but the unfortunate thing is a lot of them, they don't want to work, but they want to make money. You see, and when you engage, young people of today, recently I had a problem with a young man who was supposed to provide me a service. I paid as much as 12,000 cedis, and the service was not coming. And I told him, you need to be very, very careful with it. I'll let the money go, I don't mind. But the problem is, Yamiba Bissau, or how do they say it? God will punish you, God, here and there. You might not end up well. So people want to make money, but they don't want to work. That is the problem. You see, apart from the fact that already the jobs are not there, when you look at the unemployment situation and sometimes corruption, mismanagement and all that, those human insecurities, of course, comes to play. All right, but generally, like I said, we should approach it from that, wide perspective.
There's this other thing that really bothers me, and that's this issue about spirituality. Because, we live in a secular state that allows for spiritual expression the way that you decide. And so, being spiritual by itself is not bad, it's not a crime. And because most of these activities are shrouded in spirituality, it becomes a bit difficult to touch them, directly. I think that there are lines, and as soon as those lines is a straight matter of black and white. For instance, if there's a pastor in church beating somebody, slapping somebody, using a cane, that's a crime. There's nothing spiritual about it. He just hit somebody. Our laws, say something about hitting somebody. We deal with the person.
It depends on where you stand, though. Church members don't see it that way.
Exactly, I was coming to that. Isn't it time as a society we asked ourselves what we mean by spiritual, even that word by itself? Let's have that conversation. Shouldn't spirituality be edifying, be godly, righteous, good, all the wonderful? Isn't that what spirituality is about? Whereas when I exhibit or I partake or I engage in a spiritual activity, I'm supposed to be left feeling better about myself and better about the society that I live in. So that spirituality really, in my understanding, should be something wonderful, something good, godly. How How godly is killing another human being?
I mean, it's obviously ungodly. But you see, Ama,
Or how godly is having 4 boyfriends?
The thing is, the only way out is for us to break the chains of indoctrination. You see, indoctrination makes your mind close. Like it completely closes it. Yeah, you reject anything that comes from outside. You live in a bubble, in an illusion. That is how I perceive spirituality lately. I don't know whether you've heard about the late 1970s Jonestown massacre.
Right.
A reverend minister who was based in the U.S.
Right.
The U.S. authorities were not happy with the way he does things, so he moved his followers to French Guyana. And at the point he felt the authorities were coming after him, so he asked his followers to drink, to take a special concoction that was mixed with cyanide, and close to 1,000 people were killed, including women and children. And the Vichy, what's it called? The Vichy Church, Grand Davidians in Waco, Texas, somewhere I think in 94 or 95.
Right.
He also had his followers. They said they were establishing their own state. The American authorities surrounded the church. They exchanged fire with them. Some special agents were killed. In the end, they burnt themselves. Look, there are so many of such examples. And these days, you see people wear suicide vests, shout Allahu Akbar, God is great, something that is supposed to be secret, and blow themselves. How religious is this, my sister?
Right.
So that's the way out is to break that chain, and so people are able to read between the lines, are able to tell the truth from the false, the right from the wrong. If not, they become so closed, they become so one-eyed, they are not able to appreciate the nuances of what they get themselves into.
Right. At this point, I want us to involve the viewers. We have some interesting messages here that we can let our other guests join the conversation. Eko Tewia says, all this is a time bomb waiting to go off. Let those greedy politicians who don't care about the poor, ignore them. When it goes off, we shall see who will cry first and who will lose big. Oday David says, security in Ghana is weak. Messi C. Ajaven, hey, says, very sad developments, Ama, very scary. We must sit up as a country. Sawa Dogo says, I miss JJ era. Abdul Basit says, the police should please help by upping their game, because the robbery and killing is too much. The energy will be okay when VRA and Great Co finish their maintenance work. Okay, right. Okay, I see where you're going with this. This one says, Mame, please, we shouldn't forget Ghana is a democratic state. It is not a communist state. We must begin to fight with our blood in law enforcement. We must make sure that the law works well in all angles. We must not go against the prosperity of the youth. Right. So you are speaking about the criminalization, of certain activities. Thank you for your message. Right. Charles Graham says, our core problem in Ghana is a lack of leadership, the general breakdown of law and order, and its related social structures. Very interesting, comments on our Facebook page. If we could get our WhatsApp line as well, so we could see if we have any messages from there. Let me introduce Mr. Berima Kesiamankwa. He's the National Coordinator, Ghana NGO Coalition on the Right of the Child. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank
must
you.
have been caught up in traffic.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's great you're here with us.
Yeah.
I will take your reaction so far. We've had a lengthy conversation before you joined us. So
Good.
let's hear your thoughts so far on this issue.
I think the issue got to do with how society we have failed in addressing issues relating to children.
Thank you.
And for me, it's found from the breaking down of the nuclear family system,
Right.
the extended family system, community neglecting its responsibilities towards children, and even the whole nation, our approach in addressing issues affecting children. I believe strongly if a parent, if community, if families were interacting regularly with these children, some of these issues would have easily been resolved, and then the children could have communicated to their parent. However, because these things are not on board, it's a bit difficult for the children to even approach their parents and say somebody has approached me, or these are my needs, these are my wants. And for that matter, as parents or as people who are taking care of the children, we are supposed to act on it. So it's a mix-up of failure as a society in addressing issues relating to children.
I agree with you 100%, because I think that children tend to, even if they are not speaking directly, they tend to give themselves away sometimes.
Yeah.
He might say something to somebody. If you are paying attention, you might catch on. Because I'm wondering, I don't even know how to say this. It's shocking for me that a 16-year-old, an 18-year-old is able to look at a 10-year-old, pre-decide that I'm going to kill this child, goes ahead to do it, take a block, look at this child and hit him. Where is empathy? Where is the feeling for another human being? How has this child grown up such that at the age of 16, at the age of 18, he has no regard for human life?
And you see, children usually practice what they watch, what they see around, what they hear. And I must say that as a society, we have been so, how will I call it, in quotes, liberated in such a way that there are a lot of things that we have taken for granted. See the things that happens on our television.
Right.
And you ask yourself, who are the authorities responsible for the regulation of some of these things that happen on television? There are regulations that stop, for instance, films that comes with violence during times that children are in the house.
In the morning by 10 a.m.
But here is the case that it's being shown, children are watching it, they are seeing that yes, it's good, that's why it's on television. Because if it is not good, it shouldn't be on television. So there are little things that we have not been able to address as a nation, and it is crippling up with us gradually, and then it's taken up in different shapes. This is a heinous crime that has been committed, that is murder. But beyond that, there are others that happens. For instance, defilement, there are sexual abuses and other things, bullying and other things that go unreported. This one is, I'll call it a major one. So it's getting the attention on that things. But there are others that we might think that it might not be so significant. But in the life of the victim, it is very significant, which we are overlooking.
How can we even ever think that sexual assault of any kind will not be significant in somebody's life?
That is it, because we watch films on television that shows that a man is beating the wife, a man is beating the partner. So when a child sits back and watch it, he says, oh, look at this man, he's doing it. Maybe the person is in quotes responsible in this profession and doing that.
Right.
So the child
As
also
a responsible man.
Yeah, the
He
child
uses so loosely.
The child also picks those behaviors and then see that, okay, yes, if I do it, it's okay. I have a testimony that I usually share with people. When I was working in Kumasi, about 6-year-old boy playing with girls and saying that I can beat you because you are a girl. Because it's an orientation that he has copied or he has heard from the house. So she thinks that beating girls is normal. You get it, and for that matter, he can do it. because he's a girl, he can do it. So those are orientation that we need to begin to let our children understand. That's when we are growing up, we are together. When the needs of this are important, the needs of also these are also important for that matter, we need to address it. So holistically, we need to take an overhauling approach in looking at how do we address issues that are confronting our children today. Now we have internet. Sometimes even parents do not even have the internet, but the children have the internet and they are using it. How do the parents even understand these dynamics and see how best he or she is going to take care of the child? So those are little things that we need to be looking at. How do we address it? If you read a lot of books and other things, the first black surgeon, the mother wasn't a graduate. The mother was an illiterate. But there was that responsibility from the mother that I need to look at how do I supervise my children in such a way that they will be learning. So when the children come, he asks them, have you done your homework? The child will say, yes, bring it and let me see. He look at it, she will look at it and say, okay, well done, go and sleep. That orientation, that mindset was on the children, that their mother always supervise them and look at what they are doing. It happens for a very long time. When they were graduating and the certificates were given to them, it was then that they realized that their mother was illiterate, because he turned the certificate around. So parents tend to neglect their responsibilities, and they expect that when the children go to school is when the teachers are supposed to be responsible and act on their behalf. But it goes beyond that.
Right.
We need to be responsible towards our children. We need to improve upon the communication to ensure that our children are freely communicating with us. Things that affect them, we are the only people that they can share with us. But if we create that hostile environment, then it becomes very difficult for the children to communicate with us. Our frustrations from the workplace should not be on the children.
Right.
But however, many parents, even when their children want to come and talk to them, they bring their frustration from the workplace, shout at the children, and they horse up. Right. So these are some of the things that we really, really need to look at as a country and then see how best you can address it. And I also say that the religious institutions, I think it's time they look at the kind of teachings that they give to our children, because it's very, very critical for us to know. Now,
prosperity. Everything is about prosperity.
It's
Prosperity. Money now is the exhibition of blessing.
Yeah.
God only blesses you with money. So if you don't have money, you are not blessed.
You are not blessed.
That's it.
But Emma, to add to what he has said, I think our children deserve a fair hearing.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes we underestimate them. We
on the screen, these are all things that we watch on TV now.
Yeah.
You know, this is so normal now. You know, before you used to wonder when you go to a bar, what do you see? Now I know.
Yeah, I know.
I'm an expert.
You know, you would have to take off your shoes.
Being at the Malam because of TV.
Yes. When you go, perhaps he has to show you where to sit and all that, because it's become. I mean, that's not development. That's retrogression.
Thank you.
But like I said, our children need to be involved. We need to give them a fair hearing, like I said. Sometimes we underestimate what the children know.
Right.
I remember when our little mate in the house got a boyfriend. I told my wife, look, watch out, this girl, she has a boyfriend. No, I shouldn't talk like that because it hurts her. She's too little. I was like, watch it. And I have surveillance system. That is how I covered the truth. And my wife was shocked. I was like, yeah, don't underestimate these children. That is why anytime I get the opportunity to take a family through security drills, I tell them, involve the children in the security maintenance process. Sometimes someone knocks at the door. Hey, uncle has come, they open the door.
Yeah.
And I tell them, teach the children, if not for mommy or daddy, don't open the door to anyone. Even if you have to, it has to be with the tacit approval of mommy and daddy. If someone calls you on your way to school or from school, come for toffee, come and look at the puppy, don't go. If someone says, sit on my lap, whatever anyone does to them, they should freely comment. But the problem is sometimes a child will tell you something, then you express shock right before the child.
Sometimes shout at them.
You shout at them. You are creating a disconnect of some sort. Sometimes you would have to immerse yourself in the problem. That is why I have a lot of young people talking to me, and I hear really gruesome things. But when I hear it, I just go, oh, I mean,
no,
it's
so
normal.
You know, this is, I'm now learning that apparently, especially in Kaswa, this is very normal. That's what I'm learning from all of this. You know, listening to the radio, you know, hearing my colleague journalists go there and speak to the people. Apparently, in Kaswa, this is very, very normal. You know, and I was speaking about this in the introduction, where one woman was saying that she can't even go to work. When she's at work selling, she's a market woman. She's worried about her child at home. Because there's been so incidents of other children going missing in the community.
Ama, you see, Kaswa has become a melting point. Melting pot, sorry. It has become a place where people from all walks of life, from across the length and breadth of the country, not only within the country, but beyond the country. Look, there are reports that indicate that some Nigerians who are wanted in Nigeria due to our porous borders are able to come into Ghana, and their safest haven is either Kaswa or Ashama.
What
it
are
used
the
to be
security
Kaswa
agencies doing? What are the security agencies doing?
When we talk about what are the security agencies doing, I think in security there are a lot of things that we have to take into consideration.
Oh, he's here. He'll tell us.
The interdependency of the citizens is very critical in addressing all this issue. How do the citizens who live in Kaswa, who live in, let's say, Abilempe and other places, cooperate? We live in a country where people see crime going on, but they feel difficult to go and report. You will not, if you look at the police ratio, you will not ordinarily see a policeman standing in each person's house. I hope you get it. But you will get people who are walking and seeing people committing crime. And people walk along and they don't take any details. You get it? It's somebody's business, and they walk away and they don't take any details.
It's not my child.
Yes. And I sometimes sit and live and then ask myself, so where is this orientation that we are teaching ourselves and teaching our children, that when some of these things happens, these are small details they are supposed to pick so that they can help the police when it comes to investigation. In advanced countries, that's why drawing is very paramount for the basic children. Because the moment he sees it, the next thing that you picture it, at any given point in time, you are given a sheet to sketch it. And then the police can use that one to do their forensic audit and other things. But here, it's like we have taken things for granted. We are not orienting ourselves that as society we need to live holistically. So these are major things that we need to really take our time on it and begin to educate our children and other things. Sometimes even when parents see their children drawing, they are worried. You get it? That's why should you always be painting? No, there are little things that the children can learn, and it will help all of us in society.
Right.
Because when police want information, it is me and you that will deliver it. It is not nobody will do it. So we all have to begin to look at, how do I take my responsibility in such a way that I will create a conducive environment for everybody to live.
Yeah. I think
I'm looking at the time. Please go ahead.
A quick one. I know of a lady who actually is a very good friend, and she in confidence told me that when she was growing up, her mother used to send her to a malam for her spiritual needs, and she told me confidently that it was the malam who diverged her. And when she reported it to the mother was like, case closed. Don't let anyone ever hear this. So you think anything would happen to the child and the child would come report to the parents? No. And these days, you see, police inaction because of so-called alternative dispute resolution. Oh, wait there. If you ask them, let's deal with it at the domestic level. But you know full well, this is pure criminality. And now, due to police inaction, people don't have the zeal, the encouragement to even report to the police. And I remember some time ago, I am a victim of crime at Kaswa. And when I reported to the police, that was some time ago. Oh, a large few on them anymore, but they would come. To date, nobody has shown face. You think next time if it happens, I'll report to the police? It reminds me of this popular joke. A wife slapped the husband, and the husband said, "I'm reporting you to the pastor. Today you are in trouble." And when he went to the pastor asked him, "What happened?" "My wife slapped me." Before he landed, the pastor was like, "Look at my eye. My wife, so please go home and resolve it." So you see, the criminals are even able to go after the police themselves. You see, these days, look, they attack police stations. Just recently, I understand the police station was attacked and
in
some people were free. Yes. Kasua, Howard Kunsin shooting incident. And there was also this incident involving a young man who killed two police
the leaders themselves, you know.
Kasua is a stubborn town that needs stubborn action to be able to take care of the security situation there. It's a 3HD thesis. There are a lot of factors that is accounting for that. One of those prominent factors is the fact that it has become a hustling point all over Ghana. People looking for better opportunities. When they come, if not Accra, then they move to Kasua. It is opening up by the day. In fact, Kasua has met Accra. In the past, we feel Kasua. Look, believe it or not, a lot of people don't know Kasua is not in the greater Accra region. They think it's in Accra.
Right.
You know, so it is a major problem.
How do we move on? Let's start with this, you know, flashpoint where we all know that this place is a ticking time bomb. You are the security expert. How do we move on from there? Do we sit down? Today, 2 children have killed 1 child. Yesterday, they attacked a police station. The other day, it was a 40-something-year-old man. They just shot and took his money. We hear all these stories, and we are just sitting down.
I think, Ama, one of the first things we should be looking at is improving the human security situation of the people. Like I said at the beginning of this program, a lot of it has to do with some socioeconomic deficits in that area. So if you are able to address the human security needs of the people to some extent, I mean, get a lot more of the people out of poverty, improve health situation, food situation, shelter, you know, and all of it would be possible if we reduce the level of mismanagement, so that the big monies that will be paid to over-bloated contracts are rechanneled to taking good care of the people. I'm pretty sure it would reduce the crime rate in that area. Secondly, we need to improve the security, overall security. We need more professionals on the ground in Kasua. I have spoken with a number of people. As a matter of fact, my in-laws live there, who contend that mostly when they report cases to the police, nothing comes out of it. I remember some time ago, my phone was stolen, and I did my own tracking. After 7-8 months, the phone was not used. After 7-8 months, the person started using. He had flashed them, but I was still able to get him. And I led a police team to Kasua. And we used a lot of tricks, some intelligence, getting people to track them and all that. It was a pharmacy, but it was a phone stealing syndicate, bison, as if they are running a pharmacy. And we're able to break it, you see. So we need more professionals on the ground who will be able to investigate effectively and efficiently cases that come before them. Overall, I think we need to nip in the bud the culture of impunity. When someone does the wrong thing, the person should be punished, because in criminology we have what we call rational choice theory. Before a potential criminal perpetrates a crime, he's able to juxtapose the risk and the reward factors.
Absolutely.
So if he feels that it is rewarding, what do you expect? The person would commit the crime. But if it is risky, the person would naturally be disincentivized from even perpetrating the crime in the first place. And that boils down, or that feeds into what we call situational crime prevention, creating an environment where it will be crime would be unattractive.
Right.
But within the scheme of things today, it is very attractive.
It is attractive.
The likelihood that you'll be left off the hook if you perpetrate a crime
No,
within that area, it's so high.
No, but Adib, even if you are not left off the hook, if you have nothing to lose,
Exactly.
if you have no
Look, apart from all of these land
what's
issues,
the worst that could happen? You end up in prison. You already live in prison in your everyday life. So what's the worst that could happen?
Exactly. We have land issues. We have scammers. Immediately you drop from the village. You know, you have people to welcome you there. So I mean, it is. I'm sure it would be a gradual process, but we need to start somewhere. We need to address it from the fundamentals. It goes beyond buying pickups for the police. The police, you see them, but they are far away. You see them in the vehicles around, but they are far away because there's no interaction. You get me? So when people talk about visibility, I ask them, no, I tell them this is no visibility. Do we have the police knocking on doors and asking, or on businesses, are you okay? Is everything okay? Please don't hesitate to get. They are in the cars just beside you, but they are far away. The interaction is so low. When the little opportunities you have to even interact with the police sometimes doesn't end up well.
The nicest time I have had with law enforcement happened this weekend. I was in Nalarigu over the weekend. You know, the honorable.
The funeral.
Yes, I went for the funeral. Honorable Alhaji Baba Seyidu's son, and from the airport, from the Tamale airport, you know the airport is within the security.
Air Force.
Military.
The Air Force, the military. Thank you. Within the